The throne hall of the Blood Fawn was built to intimidate. Black metal ribs arched overhead like the bones of some colossal beast, lit by shifting orange light from the volcanic moon below. 100 Scar nobles reclined in balconies carved into the walls, their scaled hides glinting under molten firelight. At the far end, on a dais of jagged obsidian, sat the High Warlord. His armor was plated with the bones of fallen champions, his crest feathers dyed crimson in blood. In his clawed hands he held a goblet of steaming fluid, not wine, but something that smelled faintly of burned iron. Before him knelt the surviving crew of the Terran freighter Shinsei Maru. Shackles cut into their wrists. Translator drones hovered overhead, their lenses cold and unblinking. The High Warlord gestured, and a holographic display shimmered to life in the air between them. It showed fight after fight in the blood arena, creatures twice a human's size being split apart by a towering reptilian warrior. The crowd in the hall roared approval with each kill. "This," the warlord said, his voice deep enough to make the floor vibrate, "is Karzek Bloodclaw. Undefeated for 62 cycles. Every species we have conquered, their best warriors fell before him." Karzek stepped forward from the shadows. His scales were a deep bronze, his frame massive, over 3 meters of muscle and armor. His plasma halberd rested casually across one shoulder. His eyes glowed faintly red in the firelight. "And now," the warlord continued, "we give you prey creatures of Earth a chance." His fangs flashed in what might have been a grin. "One of you may face Karzek in the blood arena. Win, and your kin walk free. Lose, and your bodies will burn for the amusement of the crowd." The hall erupted in laughter. The sound was ugly, sharp, guttural, and full of contempt. No one spoke. The humans glanced at one another, each seeing the same truth: this was not a fight. It was an execution dressed as sport. Then a man stepped forward. Akira Sada looked nothing like the soldiers of Earth's defense fleets. He was not young. The lines around his eyes were deep, his hair threaded with gray. But there was something in his stance, a deliberate stillness, a quiet that did not belong to prey. "I will fight," he said. The laughter doubled. Some of the Scar actually leaned forward to see this frail volunteer better. Karzek's nostrils flared. This will be my opponent?" He glanced toward the High Warlord. "Shall I finish him now and spare us the boredom?" Akira ignored him. He addressed the throne. "If I am to fight, I request the tools of my people's warriors." A ripple of curiosity passed through the hall. "You want weapons?" the warlord said. "Yes. A full suit of armor from my homeland of Japan, crafted to fit me exactly. A forged blade, katana steel, not your alloys. And a simple wooden stand for my preparations." Confused murmurs swept the balconies. To the Scar, armor was a matter of layered plating and energy shielding. Steel blades were museum pieces. "You will die all the same," the warlord said, amused. "But yes. Bring him his toys." The translator drones relayed the order. They were escorted back to the cells. "You're insane," one of the crew muttered as soon as the guards were out of earshot. "You saw the hollow. He's a monster." Akira knelt on the floor, folding his hands in his lap. "I saw a fighter who's used to killing fear. I intend to give him something he's never seen before." "You mean an antique sword?" another asked bitterly. "I mean a fight he cannot read," Akira said. "Weapons are only as strong as the will behind them. And will is something humans have in abundance." No one argued further. The armor arrived the next cycle. The alien artisans had done their work well: black lacquered plates, silk cords, the mental mask shaped into a fierce grimace. The katana was perfect, its curve and balance precise. Akira took his time fitting each piece. First the sunniate over the shins, then the dew over his chest. He tied the cords as his ancestors had done centuries before, every knot deliberate. The blade slid into his obi with the faintest whisper of steel against lacquer. When the guards jeered, he did not answer. Instead, he began to move, slow kata, each motion measured and precise. Cuts, blocks, turns, the weight of the armor and sword becoming part of him. The air in the cell seemed to sharpen with each pass. The first to notice was a young Scar guard. His smirk faded as he watched the human's movements, fluid, efficient, without waste. By the time Karzek himself arrived, Akira was still at it, the sword a silver blur in the dim light. The champion's laugh was low and rumbling. "Your costume is almost impressive. A pity it will be soaked in your blood." Akira sheathed the blade and met his gaze without blinking. "You've already lost," he said evenly. "You just don't know it yet." Karzek's grin vanished for the briefest moment before he turned away. "We'll see how long you can keep that tongue in the arena." That night, in the dim silence of the cell, Akira closed his eyes and slowed his breathing. The distant hum of the Bloodfang's engines filled the darkness. Somewhere beyond the walls, the volcanic moon storms howled. The Scar thought this was a spectacle. They thought his request for armor and sword was nostalgia. They had no idea that every step they had taken to mock him was setting the stage for their own humiliation. The fight was tomorrow, and Akira intended to make sure the laughter in the hall turned into silence. The blood arena of the Blood Fawn was a monument to cruelty. A dome of transparent alloy arched high above the fighting pit, framing the violent sky of Zorath Prime. Rivers of molten rock cut glowing paths across the black volcanic landscape outside, casting flickers of orange across the seats packed with alien spectators. The air inside the dome was hot, carrying the faint tang of scorched metal and something older. The smell of past battles burned into the sand. Akira stepped through the heavy gate and into the glare of the arena lights. The roar from the crowd struck like a physical force. Tier after tier of Scar nobles leaned forward, jeweled crests gleaming, their slit-pupiled eyes locked on the human who dared to enter. Across the pit, another gate clanged open. Karzek emerged in a storm of noise, the crowd chanting his name, stamping armored boots on the metal decking. His battleplate was engraved with kills, each mark a jagged scar across the bronze. In his claws, the plasma halberd pulsed with an angry red glow. The champion raised the weapon overhead and roared. The sound shook the dome. He pointed the blade toward Akira in challenge. Akira walked forward slowly, every step deliberate. Black lacquered plates caught the shifting light. His helmet crest rose like a silent challenge. The katana rested sheathed at his hip. He stopped just short of the starting mark, turned toward the high Warlord's box, and bowed. The Warlord's eyes narrowed. He raised a claw. The gong sounded. Karzek moved first. He crossed the sand in 3 massive strides, halberd swinging in a killing arc meant to cleave the human in half. The air hissed where the plasma edge passed. Akira sidestepped, the blade missing by a hand's breadth. The katana flashed in a single precise cut, a shallow line along Karzek's forearm, before sliding back into its sheath. The crowd's roar faltered. Karzek glanced at the thin streak of dark blood on his scales, then laughed, a sound more forced than before. He lunged again, each strike a hammer blow. Akira gave ground, never in a straight line, letting the alien's own momentum pull him off balance. His footwork was crisp, each pivot buying another breath, another angle. Above, in the noble's box, murmurs replaced jeers. A merchant lord muttered to his companion, "He moves like water." The platforms beneath the sand shifted suddenly with a grinding of gears, breaking apart into uneven sections. The Scar loved unpredictability. Fighters who could not adapt were swallowed by pits or driven into the molten chasms that split the floor. Karzek adapted easily, leaping from one slab to another. He pressed the attack. The halberd came in low this time, angling for Akira's legs. Akira hopped back to a narrow platform, balancing easily despite the weight of his armor. The alien feinted, then swung the halberd shaft upward. A hidden plasma charge burst from the weapon's head in a spray of heat and light. It struck Akira's left shoulder plate, cracking the lacquer and scorching the steel beneath. Cheers erupted from the stands. Akira straightened, rolling his shoulder once. He slid the katana fully into its sheath and settled back into stance, his head tilting slightly as he spoke in perfect Scar. "If that's your best, you should have brought 2 of you." The reaction from the crowd was immediate, a wave of laughter, some genuine, some shocked. Karzek's lip curled, exposing sharp teeth. The champion came in hard, abandoning caution. Each blow was meant to break armor, bone, and spirit all at once. Sparks flared where the halberd shaft struck Akira's plates. He gave ground, the molten pit now only a step behind him. Heat blasted up against his back. Karzek's eyes gleamed. One more push and the human would fall. The halberd came down in an overhead strike, and Akira pivoted hard to the right, letting the plasma edge smash into the sand. His armor plates brushed the edge of the pit as he slid past. His sword came free in a single, fluid motion, cutting low at Karzek's knee joint before he disengaged. The alien staggered for a fraction of a second, then recovered, growling deep in his chest. A loud gong sounded from above, the ceremonial pause between intervals. Karzek lowered his weapon and stepped back toward his side of the pit. His eyes never left Akira. The crowd buzzed with restless energy, no longer certain of the outcome. Akira breathed steadily, sword tipped low, his stance unchanged. The cracked shoulder plates smoked faintly in the heat, but his eyes were calm. They had expected fear. They were starting to see something else entirely. The gong faded into the molten hum of the arena. Steam rose in shimmering curtains from the chasms below. The crowd murmured, restless, their earlier laughter replaced by sharp, clipped voices. Akira knelt in his corner, sword laid across his knees. He pulled the frayed silk strap of his shoulder plate tight, steady hands ignoring the faint sting of burnt steel beneath. His breath came slow and measured, eyes closed as if in meditation. Across the pit, Karzek paced like a caged predator. Alien medics pressed a cauterizing seal to the shallow cut on his knee. He swatted them away, snarling. His eyes locked on Akira with a new weight, no longer contempt, but the resolve to destroy. The High Warlord rose from his throne. Begin! The gong struck again. Karzek moved differently now, no reckless charges. He circled, forcing Akira to shift with him, probing for weakness. The platforms beneath them began to shift faster, rising and falling with hydraulic groans. A narrow bridge extended between them, suspended above a river of molten rock. Karzek lunged, driving Akira backward onto the bridge. The halberd came in high, then low, its humming edge leaving scars in the steel planks. Akira deflected with minimal motion, the katana whispering against the shaft, his feet anchored despite the swaying platform. A sudden feint, the halberd smashed across instead of down. The impact clipped Akira's kabuto, snapping the helmet crest clean off and sending it spinning into the heat below. Gasps rippled through the stands. Karzek grinned, teeth bared. Without your crest, you're nothing. Akira's voice was calm. Without your weapon, you're dead. He dropped to one knee as if staggered. Karzek stepped in for the finishing blow, bringing the halberd's head down toward his neck. The katana moved faster than the eye could follow, a single diagonal draw cut, the steel singing as it bit through the halberd's plasma housing. Sparks exploded, the weapon's glow vanishing in a hiss of dying energy. Karzek stared at the ruined weapon in disbelief. The pause lasted less than a heartbeat before he hurled it aside and lunged barehanded. His claws slashed for Akira's throat. Close now, too close for wide cuts. Akira used the armor's weight, turning his shoulder into the strike, letting the plates absorb the blow. His elbow smashed into Karzek's side, opening a fraction of space. The katana flicked upward, carving a shallow line across the alien's jaw. Karzek roared, grabbing for the sword's hilt with both hands. They grappled on the bridge, molten rock spitting below. Akira shifted his stance, pulling Karzek forward with a sudden drop of weight. The alien's balance broke for the first time. One chance. Akira pivoted on his rear foot, channeling every ounce of power from hips to blade. The cut swept up and across in a perfect arc, slicing through scaled flesh and thick muscle at the base of Karzek's neck. The champion froze, claws half raised. A gurgle escaped his throat. His knees buckled. Akira stepped back, sheathing the katana in one smooth motion. Karzek fell forward, body hitting the bridge with a dull crash, then rolled sideways into the molten river below. Steam and fire swallowed him whole. Silence gripped the arena. The High Warlord stood, claws gripping the railing. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, in a voice that carried to every corner of the dome, "Release the humans. The fight is won." The gates to the prison pen slid open. Akira's crew stumbled out, disbelief on every face. A guard cut their restraints without meeting their eyes. As the crowd filed out, whispers rippled through them, about the human's precision, his calm, the way he had turned what was meant to be a spectacle into a lesson. The High Warlord met Akira's gaze. "Perhaps, your kind are not prey after all." Akira inclined his head once, neither gloating nor bowing. "You'll remember that." They left the arena under the wary stares of their former captors. Near the gates, a young Scar warrior lingered, eyes tracking every step Akira took. There was no hatred in his look, only something like hunger. Not for blood, but for understanding. Outside, the volcanic wind hit like a wall, carrying the sharp scent of ash. The Shinsei Maru's battered shuttle waited, hastily returned to them. As the crew climbed aboard, one of them glanced back at the arena's looming silhouette. "They'll never forget this." Akira adjusted the sword at his side, the lacquer of his armor scorched and cracked, the Kabuto crest gone. "They'll try," he said. "But the cut runs deep." The shuttle's hatch closed. Engines flared. The blood fawn shrank behind them, the arena's black dome a dark eye staring after them. Humanity had been measured that day, and found dangerous.